Rabbi said, this is an Arei Miklat Sich. We all know the Arei Miklat Shturim that the Rebbe makes about Mashiach, right? The typical idea, which you have also in more than one Sich about Arei Miklat, is that Arei Miklat is in a separate halacha. Remember? Halacha Alpha is gigantic, halacha Beis is tiny. And the Rebbe asked the question, how come the Rambam makes halacha, puts Arei Miklat in the... You have three rayos from Mashiach. One from the Tzavim, which is a ray to Geula, one from Bachas Balog, which is a ray to Mashiach, and then you have Mitzvah, Arei Miklat. Why is it in separate halacha? And the Rebbe explained in Chelik Ches and in other places as well, that the reason it's in a separate halacha is because Arei Miklat adds the element of Mitzvah. By adding the element of Mitzvah, it makes Arei Miklat for sure a physical thing. Because it could be, it's possible that in Yonach Beruchnius, you can interpret a Nevuah Beruchnius, and it could be metaphysics and so on. But when you get to a mitzvah, and every mitzvah is a mikra yetzim, and it should have to be a physical mitzvah, when you get to a physical mitzvah, it has to become literal. So the Rebbe holds that the reason Arei Miklat is in a separate halacha, it's a whole new echos, it's a whole new certainty about the union of Mashiach, by connecting Mashiach to a mitzvah. Now here's a nigla sicha, mamish a nigla sicha, which asks a klotz kasha. Mashiach comes, we build 3 additional cities of refuge. 3 additional cities of refuge. Why? Nobody's killing anybody. Mashiach comes. You have to add additional Arei Miklat. Mashiach doesn't make any sense. So let's read inside. Hashem is going to broaden your borders. Is a sport to your fathers. Is going to give you the whole land, which you promised to give your ancestors, which includes which is today southern Syria, Jordan, and northern Saudi Arabia. Steht in Sifri, it says in Medrash, and Yerushalmi, gebracht in Rashi al-Asar, Rashi brings it in Chumash, al der Tzivi batzitzich zum Mandel Yosod Lovi, goes in the times of Mashiach, when jeden Fall bekommen euch, Eretz Keni Knizi v'Kadmoni, you're going to get the lands of Keni Knizi v'Kadmoni, which is Moav and Ammon and Edom, and therefore you're going to have a larger, so more cities of refuge, so a total of 9. This is a quote from the Rambam which we learned. Actually, it's a different halacha. When Mashiach comes, may see him Achei Temimim. He had 3 more additions as a refuge. Al elu ashesh over these 6. Where are they added? Arei, Kenik needs money. The cities of Kenik needs money. Shenichas Avram Avinu bris Alayim v'chol which Hashem Avram Avinu bris the Eibishter over these cities. It's a very strange additional halacha. You know what the halacha is? That Moshe Rabbeinu separated 3 cities of refuge, maybe lyhadus. They were not koilet, they did not become cities of refuge until Yeshua separated 3 more on the other side. In other words, until all 6 were separated, even the first 3 are not koilet. But about the last 3, you don't say that. Otherwise, there would be no din of Arei Miklat Machlal. Right? So the question is, Meisav Zayin La'asad Lavi Noch Arei Miklat. To add additional cities of refuge when Mashiach comes doesn't make any sense. While after Mashiach comes, there's not going to be any murderers. I feel about the Ummah Sa'elim, even by Goyim, because the whole world is going to change. There's going to be Shalom and there's going to be Shalva. So you have to not only bring back the old cities of refuge, but add 3 more. It doesn't make any sense. This is the cash. So the Rebbe does something which he does on occasion. He doesn't do it that often, does on occasion. He brings other terutzim and he slugs them up. We're still on page 1. A city of refuge is only needed for someone who murders by accident. So B'meila you could answer, you know why you have to additional refuge? There'll be a lot of Jews, there'll be a lot of accidents. If a person kills a Jew by accident, go to the Miklat. Says the Rebbe, no, when Mashiach comes, there won't be accidents either. Why not? The idea of murdering by mistake is also nit shayach l'osad law. They can't do a Mashiach. Why? The famous idea. The Rebbe brings in a Sikh and Chelik Gimel. I think it's in Parshas Shmini, that a person who has a carbon or vayikra, Asham carbon, this week's Parsha, Asham Tali. If you're not sure, if you did an Aveda, you have to bring a Asham Tali. It's more expensive than a regular Chatas. Why? Because you do an Aveda, you're not sure about it, it means it's coming from the subconscious. If it's coming from the subconscious, it's worse than it's coming from the conscious. Go from your Pnimius and Shom. Das Gufa was a Mensch wird gehargit. The fact that a person is killed is a bavais as im kum tachiv misa. The murdered deserves to be murdered. Next paragraph. The murderer is also required to kill. It says in Chazal, when a person does an aveda and it's by mistake, kumtas derfun was mat epes hashayches zu dem chet. So the Rebbe says, even murdering by paket, murdering by mistake is less likely than murdering on purpose. Murdering on purpose, a person has free will. Murdering by mistake happens from your subconscious. The Yidden subconscious and Goyim subconscious will be good, lost of love. It's going to be good. It won't be a tzech. So the Rebbe says, you cannot answer one teretz is that you need the Arei Miklat for accidental murder, and the Rebbe says there will not be accidental murder. So Hadra Kushel Aduchta, why you have to have Arei Miklat? Says Deinen Da, Mefarshim, was like a second teretz. As das, was wird sein, lasset love. Das, was lasset love is, mafer sein, noch 3 Arei Miklat is la mitzvah. That we're going to separate 3 more cities of refuge, and they're never going to use them. They're going to have absolutely no use. So why are you separating 3 cities of refuge that have no use? Interest mitzvah. Right? There's certain things you do post mitzvah. Correct? They're going to make, let's say, Asher Paraduma. If nobody's taught me, don't need it, but they're going to make it a mitzvah. So it's a mitzvah to make cities of refuge. Mashiach is going to come. The Jewish people are going to be given the land of Kaini, Knizi, V'Kadmoni. One of the things they're going to do, the mitzvah, is separate 3 Arei Miklat, which nobody is going to use. And the Rebbe slugs at this teretz as well. He says, nothing wrong with this teretz as well. You're not going to use it. Why not? Because it says in the Pasuk, the very fact that it says that because there's going to be Arei Miklat, Yishafach Dam Nochi, is right, it's possible. So we had 2 terutzim, which we didn't like. The first teretz is, it's for Sheigig. The second teretz is, it's for mitzvah. Both terutzim have problems. Siv Gimel. As I nendam. The first one I don't know. The second one is a Zayis Ranim. As eine Frau Mefarshim, there's other Mefarshim. Was sagen who hold? As der Tzerech from the Arei Miklat liyasid Lavi. The need for cities of refuge after Mashiach comes, wird sein not in dem Zman von Tchilas Yemei Mashiach. It's going to be in the beginning of the times of Mashiach. What's going to be in the beginning times of the Mashiach? In dem Zman von Tchilas Yemei Mashiach, was demult is ein ben Helam Hazel Yemei Mashiach, Elashibud Malchet. You're not going to be very free. They're not going to have any influence from Goyim. They're going to be completely free. Aside from that, says the Rambam, everything's going to be natural. If everything is going to be natural, it makes sense to be murderers. That's, in other words, the third teretz is the opportunity to be Rav Chaim Mashiach. The first teretz is for Sheigik. The second teretz is for mitzvah. The third teretz is for Mezid. In the beginning of Yemei Mashiach, the world is going to be normal, and people are going to do Avedis. Turn the page. And the Rebbe says on page 110, Es Rabbi Shvera Zeitu Lenin Rambam. The Rebbe says it's very difficult to say that this is Pshat in Rambam, and he brings Rayas for this, Shidin Rayas, that according to the Rambam, it's very, very difficult to say that you're going to have to build Arei Miklat for the Tchilas Yemei Mashiach, and there's going to be murderers, because the Rebbe holds, that the Rambam holds, that the Tchilas Yemei Mashiach is also not going to be murderers. So we have 3 terutzim, and none of them are good. Teretz number 1 is for Sheigig. Teretz number 2 is for mitzvah. Teretz number 3 is for Mezid and Tchilas Yemei Mashiach. And the Rebbe said we don't, no teretz. So now, the Rebbe gives his own teretz. V'yesh leime, der Rebbe and them, the Rebbe gives his own answer. Fun chaysafas, Arei Miklat, the fact that after Mashiach comes, you add additional cities of refuge, is kein rayanish. It doesn't prove. As demot v'zayin elam k'men hageneg. It's possible to say that after Mashiach comes, there'll be miracles, nevertheless, if a mitzvah brings cities of refuge from us, weil die Arei Miklat will sein zu lieb heile nefesh b'shgaga lifnei zeh. Arei Miklat will be needed to absorb murderers who killed before Mashiach came. Now, stays. According to the third teretz, it'll be people who are killing by mistake after Mashiach comes. Correct? According to the first teretz, people kill by mistake. According to the Rebbe's teretz, no, it's people who killed, but they're killing before Mashiach comes. Wie men gefindt bei Achei Chatos, we find a halacha by Achei Chatos. As Rabbi Shmuel Kosev al Pen Kosev, Rabbi Shmuel wrote in a sefer, as Kishiyib the Beis Hamikdash Avi Chatash Min. Rabbi Shmuel said, Mashiach is going to come, I'll pay a debt of a korban. Right, the classic example of Avi Chatash Min is a Ger Tzedek. A righteous convert converts to Judaism, yeah? Every single one of them is 100% Jewish. Nevertheless, when Mashiach comes, they all owe the Eibush their korban. It becomes a shayla, their children, their grandchildren. But a person who goes through Ger, 1,000 years ago, Mashiach comes, there's Tchias HaMesim, he has to go through Ger, he has to be a korban. So the Rebbe said the reason for the Miklat is not for murdering by mistake. It's not for mitzvah. It's not for Tchilas Yemei Mashiach. It's for people who murdered before Mashiach came. There are people, unfortunately Jewish, who are chayav misa for murder or whatever. They're murderers before Mashiach comes. Mashiach is going to come. They're going to have to go to Arei Miklat. That's the Rebbe's final tenet. Okay, this is it. The Sichos is over. The Sichos. There's another point. The Sichos is over. We have a kasha, and the Rebbe's tenet is the fourth tenet. How could a person go to jail for killing? How could we say Mashiach comes? You have to have 3 additional citizens of refuge. There's no murderers. And the Rebbe gave several answers. Answer number 1, by mistake. Answer number 2, it's a mitzvah and not a isur. And answer number 3, that it was the beginning of the Mashiach. The Rebbe gives a fourth tenet. What's the Rebbe's tenet? The fourth tenet that it goes over before the Yemei Mashiach, right? But now the Rebbe has a different kasha. What's the Rebbe's kasha? How many citizens of refuge do you need? In theory. In theory, how many citizens of refuge do you need? What? A guy murders, gets on a train, he goes to refuge. Why do you need that? 6 or 9?
You get too chaotic in one city.
No. Because the Goyal Adam is running him down. The Goyal Adam, the relative, is a redeemer, right? He's a vigilante. Adam don dina lanafshe, v'makam tika pseid, is going to chase him and try to kill him. So the Rebbe Mashiach is going to come, you think the relatives of the murderer are going to want to kill him? It's going to be a special time? Says the Rebbe, the tenet says, mitzvah b'yagel adam lirdif. It's a freehold, it's a mitzvah, say deraisa, to pursue a murderer and kill him. Uvibaut is a mitzvah. Since it's a mitzvah, it's movement is understood as das is shayach is eichad l'asad love. Even after Mashiach comes, there's a mitzvah for the Gel Adam to kill the Reitzeach. So you have to have Arei Miklat, an additional Arei Miklat, to protect the life of the Niklat. Ubemela davon sein die Arei Miklat, if it's refuge, it's on Tleifen from the Gel Adam. If a person murders, the person who's his relatives tries to go after him, Uvibald, this is a mitzvah. Since it's a mitzvah, is moving it's understood as the Shaykh's Eichel, as the Lord when Mashiach comes, Ubemela davon sein die Arei Miklat, you have to steer the reference, Kedei to Antleifen from Gel Adam. You see, the Rebbe's question is, what's wrong with one city of refuge? Why in historic times he needs 6? Because the Gel Adams are after him. But for sure, when Mashiach comes, the Gel Adam is going to forgive him, so he needs what? 9, 3 more, 9. So the Rebbe answers the Gel Adam is a mitzvah. If someone murdered your relative by accident, you have a chiyuv to hunt him down and kill him. And according to those sheets, you have to hunt him down and kill him. You have to create a money miklat. That's why he made the other miklat.
He's going to have to get away though.
Huh?
Since we know there's no killing last
I can't hear you.
Since we know there's not going to be anyone killed last
He's going to have to get away. Okay, interesting question. Turn to page 112 though.
I don't understand. Why do you need the extra 3 Arei Miklat?
The Arei Miklat word, shilashtat gevul atzach. They would measure the length of Eretz Yisrael. They divide it up into 4 equal parts. They put 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. They measure from here to here. And they put 3, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. Why do they do that? They can mazalain tifad in yon, but the pashas did it because if you killed somebody, you were never more than 100 miles from another miklat. Why? The biggest highways had big signs that miklat with an arrow, and it was done in such a way that it was very easy to get to, so that if a person was being chased, he should get there before he gets caught. You understand? The Rebbe says Mashiach is going to come. There's still going to be a mitzvah in the Gel Adam. There's a mitzvah in the Gel Adam. There's a need for a mitzvah. You get it?
So why do we need to have extra more?
Because that shell is going to be bigger. So when you're bigger, it needs more land.
So the Gel Adam really has to do his job to chase him?
To kill him. To run him down and kill him. It's a mitzvah according to the Shafri.
So again, how come he has to? But there's no killing in Mashiach though.
Yeah, but it's for the people who killed now, before Mashiach.
By the time we're going to have the Arei Miklat, like it's going to take time to divide it and to get this extra land that we have. The time we're going to get it's going to be so much later.
Ubemela.
So like the time it's going to already be running.
Yeah.
Why would he still be chasing him?
Because he's still a murderer. And the Gel Adam is a mitzvah to chase him. Okay. Turn to page 112. That's a very, very good kasha. The Rambam paskin doch as nor a shus v'ad Gel Adam l'hargi. The Rambam holds that there's no chiyuv in the Gel Adam, there's just a permission. If you go on the sheet that the Gel Adam is a chiyuv, you could explain why there's a refuge to protect the Gel Adam. But if the Gel Adam simply given permission, Mashiach Tzedekam is not going to want. When Yotzed Chutzot Chumba V'Zad. Ulachaira, the question is, afilu l'daiti, even according to the Rambam. As la'asad lavi is elam b'menhagi neg, Rambam holds. When Mashiach comes, the word is still the same. Is einach hanami, as ken zayin ahidik nefesh. People get killed by mistake. V'kum ta'ba demot yecham levave. How could a person's heart become so excited? U'b'meil ha'metzias and ge'eladam. In other words, the Rambam has holds that to the shus b'yad ge'eladam. Right? The Gemara says it's a mitzvah. The Rambam holds it to the shus. Correct?
How could that be? The Gemara holds it's a mitzvah?
The Sefri holds a mitzvah. There's different shits in Shas also. In Chazal as well. But the shaila is a filim tim talema. You're going to say that the guy has a chiyuv to kill him. He's going to go and kill him. The shaila is a different one. The shaila is yecham lavav. That's the killer guy. But why are you going to get angry at? You see the words yecham lavav. Yecham lavav. So the shaila is the pasuk says you have to have additional source of refuge because of yecham lavav. Why would somebody's heart be yecham? Shays. So the Rebbe gives a very, very ruchni is the keteris, which is on page 113.
Who says yecham lavav?
The pasuk says yecham lavav. So I feel him tim salema. He has a chiyuv to do it. Now the Rambam holds it for the shus, but the shus is based on yecham lavav. Yecham lavav. How could you love yecham lavav to kill another Jew? So the Rebbe answers the halacha for Geil Adam mit alle prat. This halacha that is the redeemer of the life of the deceased, in all of its details, is nit an inyan when dibetere keneged Yetzer Hara. It's not the Torah speaking against the Yetzer Hara. Welche vet masse sein und machen as yechem lavav. When the Torah says Mashiach comes, you build three to refuge. One thing you should understand: it's not because of Yetzer Hara. It's not because of sin. It's not because of murder. The Father Torah belas breder gegeben a shus oder a tziva to hagen them to. It's not that the Eibush says, okay, since it's going to be murderers, we'll let them kill the murderer back. That's not the reason. No, this is hanhaga meyanika alpi Torah mitzvahs. The idea of a Geil Adam is based on Yiddishkeit. As eine doi Father, there's such things. When the Torah hates bezin or oisfrin, the Mechiyav Amisa, Torah commands bezin. Not, but rather, page 113, the second underline, das is a hanhaga meikar apetero mitzvahs. In other words, you have the name fast tayar, yeah? You know what a fast tayar is? A guy goes to war, you think fast tayar for shidden Allah. So the Rashi says, Diber Torah keneged Yetzer Hara. And Al Derech said the infant Layomer the Rambam writes, why did Eibush say you can't exchange a bad animal for a good animal? Because today you'll exchange a bad for a good, tomorrow a good for a bad. But here says the Rebbe, when the Torah says Mashiach comes on Miklat, it's not the pshat in case. Over then. But this is a hanhaga meikara potato mitzvahs. It's an original hanhaga potato mitzvahs. As I nedoi, faden there are ways when the Torah mitzvahs sollen sein, was the Torah his bezin soll ausführen, the Mechiyav Misa. The Torah commands a chacham to fulfill the mitzvah of Misa. When the person has witnesses and he was warned. Other times the Eibush punishes him. If a person murders by mistake, he brought death to a Yid. The Torah gave it over to the relatives, to the inheritors of the deceased. To hargen in the mitzvah to kill the Reitzach. The reason the Geil Adam is going to kill the Reitzach is not because he's angry at him, but because the Torah says that you have a chiyuv to remove a klipa from Eretz Yisrael. Just like the Rebbe says that there are cases chiyuv misa which is based on Eden. There's cases of chiyuv misa which is based on Shegin. Then there's cases chiyuv misa to anybody who could be his relative. And the word that Rebbe is trying to make it is not the pshat he has permission, it's the pshat that Apiteda needs to do it. To say it in different words, what happens if you kill a person who's Chayv Misa and Bezin? What happens if Bezin kills a person Chayv Misa and Bezin? What the head is? That's kapara. That death is his kapara. You have a kapara on a person, you have a kapara on the whole Eretz Yisrael. Oynesh is kapara. By killing him, you bring him kapara for him. If Bezin doesn't kill him, he's missing his kapara. Which means say once Bezin passes on a person's Chayiv Misa, they're Pashat doing him a favor by killing him, giving him kapara. Right? Al Derech Zeh. A person was making every Peshgaga. Mashiach comes. There's a chiyuv of yecham lavavi, not because you're angry at the guy. Yecham lavavi because a person did this, he has to be disainish. Whether it's a kapara for the person, or the Rebbe seems to imply it's not a kapara for the person, it's a kapara for the ganze Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael need you to get upset and kill him. Why? Geil Adam. So it's taket true Geil Adam is a reshus. Which means say your obligation to kill Pliny ben Pliny because he killed your relative is a reshus. But your obligation to kill Pliny ben Pliny is a Eretz Yisrael, like Tachn, Beis Rivka is a mitzvah. So Kumta is that the Rambam's sheet is like this. The Sichos is saying, why do you have to have Arei Miklat? For people who killed immediately before the coming of Mashiach. But it's not because the Geil Adam is Yecham Lavav because he's angry at you. It's because the Geil Adam has a mitzvah of Yecham Lavav. Lav dafka als nekama on the murderer, but like technifu as ha'aretz. So the Rebbe concludes, and the Rebbe therefore is eich l'dasa Rambam, even according to the Rambam, was paskin to hold as reshus l'Geil Adam, it's only permission. The Atman Hobbit, Arei Miklat li'asad love, when each series of refuge Mashiach comes, a van kleifen for them Geil Adam to escape the Geil Adam. The Baal der Geil Adam is an Ian Pitera, the Geil Adam is an Ian in Yiddishkeit. It's not just because Yetzirah hates and wants to kill out of vengeance, but because of the mitzvah to clean Eretz Yisrael, Yecham Lavavi. Ubemela, therefore, is das Eich Ba'azman de Liyosid Lavi after Mashiach comes. Then as his Leikinev Leitachas, even though nobody's jealous, it's still a mitzvah of Yecham Lavavi, not because he killed your relative, but because he brought Misin, Eretz Yisrael, even in a world where Eisa, Kala, Eilom, and Das Hashem Babam. So let's talk it over. How many explanations do we have for Arei Miklat loving? Number one, for killing b'shegig. Number two, the mitzvah. Number three, before Mashiach comes, the beginning of Mashiach. The Rebbe's tenet, the fourth tenet is before Mashiach comes. Before Mashiach comes, maybe the guy's going to forgive you. And the answer is, he has a mitzvah of Yecham Lavavi, even if he doesn't have a mitzvah of Yecham Lavavi. Alice, relative, he has a chiyuv of Yecham Lavavi to clean up Eretz Yisrael. That's the final answer.
Why does the Rambam say reshus?
That's a shita, but there's two pratim. There's the reshus out relative to avenge the blood of your relative, and then there's the reshus out mitayir Eretz Yisrael. Since it's your relative, you come first, and you should do it, right?
So if he makes it to the Arei Miklat, is Eretz Yisrael?
So there's a kapara, right? It's the same thing. He should try. He has to try. If he lives till he dies, and Arei Miklat, yeah.
So he gets the kapara because someone's trying to kill him and he ran away. He meets the person trying to
the answer is Arei Miklat is death. It says there is a sefer Achei Temimim, Arei Miklat is mis.
So he's only really stopping the Arei Miklat if someone is forcing him to say that.
No, he has to run. People can try and run on that. He has to run. There is an inyan from Yecham Lavavi, Lav Davka, Alts Nekama, but Afle Technifu Esaretz. So now, what's the ruchnius of this? Yeah. Running to sit of refuge is protecting yourself against Avedas. So one Aveda is by mistake, another Aveda is no Avedas. The mitzvah, it's a mitzvah to have a shmira. Another one says, even when you're in the beginning of being a tzaddik, you have a shaychas to Avedas. The fourth one says, no. When you were a Beinani, when you were a Baal Tshuva, the Shachas meant Avedas, now you have to run into Torah to protect yourself from Avedas you committed before. After Mashiach comes.